Every time we discuss a complex matter such as feminism, society takes different approaches and belief systems to shine light over the matter at hand. Until recently, Western societies used hard sciences to approach the differences in male and female nature and expectations. It's a common anecdote from a few decades ago to hear a male teacher say, "Girls are not good at maths," and "biology says so," since biology assumes there's innate differences between male and female. Nowadays, this attitude would be almost unthinkable, partly because society uses another approach, the sociological one, which tends to assume no such differences exist. Instead, it assumes all observable differences between males and females are the result of their socialization. But which approach is on the right? Before answering that, let me dive further into the era of girls are not good at maths. Biology is a hard science with centuries on its back. Modern biology can be traced until ancient Greece, with famous contributors such as Hippocrates and Aristotle on the 4th and 5th century before Christ. For that reason alone, only people who specialize in this discipline can formally talk about it without looking like fools. The rest of us are content with grasping the basic concepts or the particular tiny scope we're passionate in. For that reason, even people with a high level of general education can easily make mistakes when invoking the biological approach, like a maths teacher in the 60s. With lower levels of education, the grasping of biology is even thinner, and when ignorance is abound, manipulation of the masses takes place. Not that long ago, in my country of origin, biological arguments would be invoked to keep a particular social order. It was said that men and women were good at different things, according to biology, religion or else, and so they should play different specific roles. Women are good at homekeeping, religion says so. They're fit to be housewives and cook for their husbands. Men have a higher competitive drive, biology says so. They're fit to take part in the workforce and provide for their wives and children. And by using this fallacy of authority, a given social order was pushed or even enforced. You may find this relatable because it didn't only happen in my country alone. Fallacies of authority are indeed a popular choice that the ruling class has used time and again to maintain an order, using whatever subject they need to sound knowledgeable and gain immediate authority. Religion, science, economy, law, all these fields can be reinterpreted to suit a narrative and often are. Every time one of these fields is misused for a long time, the people ends up waking up from their slumber to claim fairness, to say enough to the authors of a given narrative they are not willing to put up with any longer. And soon after, a new standard narrative will be adopted, hopefully fairer than the previous one. If religion has been used for a whole generation to start wars, the following generation will easily despise religion and embrace libertine behaviors. If libertine behaviors are taken too far and become a force of chaos, people will want a strong rule of law. If the rule of law is abused to the point it obeys no moral principles, people will want an immorality principle, so on and so forth. Similarly, if biology is used as a pretext to push an agenda, people will eventually don't want to hear about biology anymore. However, is it biology's fault? Should we forget about Aristotle or Darwin because a bunch of idiotic pseudo-intellectuals have used their name in vain? Science is a beautiful, most useful human resource to understand both the world around us and ourselves. It's a tool of greater understanding. Should we ditch it because someone used it as a tool for oppression? I don't think so, particularly when the current measuring tool, sociology, offers such a weak approach to these matters. According to sociologists, men and women are equally proficient at the same subjects. Sociologists argue that men and women are the very same thing, with no distinguishable psychological and behavioral differences, and that these differences are learned because of the way they are socialized and the way they are told one behavior is feminine or masculine. They have, perhaps, been brainwashed. Let's follow this train of thought for a second. If society makes men and women grow apart to the point of taking different gender roles, it's logical to assume that different societies will have different impacts on the growing generations of boys and girls. If we take a look all around the world, all across the hundreds of different societies and cultures that exist, we see that in all of them, women and men have differentiated traditional gender roles. That includes societies who have very loose ties with each other, and also societies that have lived isolated for centuries, somewhere deep in the Amazon forest, for example. Surely, if men and women have the same attitudes and characteristics, a society out there would have figured that out. Just one. But they haven't. because men and women are different, and that's neither right nor wrong. It just is. And don't take my word for it. There's ample evidence we've been gathering for a while now. Just take a look at the Wikipedia page that covers the subject of differences among genders, and don't forget to check the linked articles, studies and papers for more information and fact-checking. And there's a good reason men and women are different. They simply evolved to be. First, let's take a step back and speak about evolution. Bear with me for a second. Life went from unicellular amoebas to multicellular life forms where all cells did the same, like in musk, to pluricellular life forms where some cells specialized, say in nutrition, allowing in turn other cells to specialize, say in defense. They kept specializing more and better over time until cells started forming tissues, organs, limbs, and eventually it all led to complex life forms. These complex life forms kept improving on what was already there that made them unique. Giraffes grew longer necks and cheetahs grew faster bodies. I'm no authority in the subject, so forgive any inaccuracies on evolutionary science, but you get the gist of what I'm saying. What I find interesting in this little evolutionary tale is the simple logic insights that can be learned from it. 1. Specialization is a value. 2. When resources are freed, move to the following thing. 3. When doing so, just make the best of what you already have. 4. And finally, keep improving on your strengths. Now for the humans. If you take a look at the Australopithecus male and female bodies, they show little differences. Their bodies are fairly similar, and possibly their psyche as well. But as humans evolved, males and females kept growing apart. Humans developed tools and techniques that allowed them to feed themselves more efficiently, so they could then procure sustenance for themselves with fewer man-hours invested on it. And when you only need a fraction of your population for a given task, the remaining population is free to do something else. And what else could prehistorical humans do? Well, as more nutritional diets made our brains bigger and more powerful, our offspring needed more time and care to develop their full potential, so nurturing was an obvious option. So then the question was, who is supposed to be hunting and who is supposed to be nurturing the kids? I say that early humans showed smaller differences between sexes than they do now, but that doesn't mean they didn't show any. In fact, all higher primates show differences between the sexes, also known as sexual dimorphism. Even early humans knew that males were stronger and females were more nurturing, so it made sense to make use of what was already there, and so men would hunt and women would raise children. And that, in turn, reinforced sexual dimorphism as generations went by. Men who were the strongest were favored over the weaker ones, and women who were more caring were favored over the colder ones. And over time, humans became the primates with the greatest sexual dimorphism. Why sociology seems to ignore all these previous points is beyond me. That's not to say every early woman was a carer and every early man was a hunter. Even to this day, anthropologists and archaeologists are restudying and reformulating the roles of our ancestors, so rather take this as a somewhat serviceable approach. Humans, like many other species, didn't stop specializing on a biological level. Societies work in a similar way. Efficiency of a given task gives way to new specializations. In turn, when those new specializations become efficient enough, further new specializations happen. All these advancements follow a logical path. A society that hasn't been through industrial revolution will hardly have any big-scale marketing, and a society that has will possibly develop marketing or a similar concept. Because they work with what they already have, they exploit what's already there and works. They optimize, improve, and evolve on that. It's a universal constant. Yeah, well, that's all well and good. But what do all these larger-than-life concepts have to do with the subject at hand? How does this relate to the maths teacher being nasty to his student? Well, I don't want to make videos too long, and I feel we've covered a lot already. First, we've analyzed the cyclical nature of universal truths and how they have been abused, and why being burnt out is no excuse to dismiss them altogether. We've also taken a look at the biological and societal evolution of the human species and how that impacts genders. So I'll be addressing the maths teacher in the next video, where I will insist on gender differences and I will talk on gender behavior. Make sure to stay tuned and subscribe and bell this channel or whatever YouTube requires you to do to see more of these videos. Feel welcome to leave a comment and please share at your will. Bye!